It's time for the Rundown with Rob Sanders.
Well, we're waiting.
And welcome into the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. My name is Rob Sanders. Thanks for joining me today. I've got a lot of stuff planned for us today. Yes, we have to talk today. Like normally when I come in here, I'm all jacked up to bring you some good stuff. Today I've got a little dose of pain, and what I mean by that is that I want to talk a little bit about the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. And Terry Bradshaw said something. Normally, when Terry Bradshaw speaks, I'm like, all right, whatever. But it's like I'm listening to Terry Bradshaw, and I agree with him about a guy that I've liked as a player. Of course, we're talking about Aaron Rodgers, so we'll get into that. What a mess. What an absolute mess that's come out to be. Brian Harsin down at Auburn did something absurdly stupid. And if you're a Georgia fan, you're going to absolutely love this today. The same. Like, huh? What is the deal with this? And what I mean by that is that things change so much when it comes to this top 10. And Clemson didn't really do anything, and they dropped 3 spots. So it makes you wonder, ESPN can be kind of silly. But let's start with that. The new top 4 has Oklahoma at number 1, Alabama at number 2, and Georgia at number 3, followed by Clemson at number 4. Now, and that's all well and good, but Clemson was number 1 a couple weeks ago at the very first ESPN post or ESPN spring rankings. But apparently, the only thing that's really changed is that they lost Tyson Fomachu. I mean, I can't really think of anything other than that. So they dropped from 1 to 4 because they lost their backup quarterback. I mean, am I missing something here? Maybe the addition of the wide receiver heading from Arkansas to Oklahoma. Maybe that had something to do with it. Maybe the addition of the Ohio State wide receiver heading down to Alabama. Maybe that had a little bit to do with it. But I don't know what Clemson did. But I tell you this because when I look at these polls, a lot of the times they really don't mean anything. We have a big bookcase that's in our studio here at Fox Sports Radio 1400. If you're watching online, you see the big banner behind me. Right next to it is a huge bookcase. And in that bookcase, I have kept, because I want to do it this year. Normally I say, okay, I'll save it and I forget about it. I've printed out ESPN's FPI for the beginning of the season. You know, the FPI where they say this team's going to win 10 games and this team's going to win 8 games. I want to see how that shakes out. And I'll tell you why. If you look at last year's FPI said that LSU was going to win, I think it was 10 games, and that didn't come to fruition. It was the same way with Arkansas. They were talking about Arkansas is going to win, 1 game. And then Mizzou's going to win 3 games. So I want to keep an eye on the FPI and see they update it every bit, throughout the season. But I want to see how accurate that goes at the end of the season. And that goes back into my thing with the strength of schedule. You know, we talk about the game with Clemson and Georgia. Right now, if you're just looking at ESPN's post-spring rankings, you're going to have a top 5 matchup up in Charlotte on September the 4th. I think it's on paper, it's the most enticing matchup of the weekend. But in the end of the season, if Clemson goes 7-5 or Georgia goes 7-5, it's not really a top 5 matchup. It's really not. People will, they'll jump on that train of, it's a top 5 matchup here. And, my team beat top 5 teams all season or top 25 teams. And in reality, they didn't. USC Insider with a great comment online. Bama winning it all again. You get kind of frustrated with that, but that's one of those things where when you look at Alabama, I can make an argument that Alabama's going to have a brand new quarterback. Alabama's going to have, they're going to be without their first round running back. They're going to be without 2 first round receivers. They're going to be without Dylan Moses, who was kind of the quarterback of the defense. They're going to be without a couple of their offensive linemen. So when I say all of that, as long as I don't put Alabama in front of it, if I put Georgia in front of it, or if I put Clemson in front of it, you can think, all right, they're going to take a step back this season. But it's not that way with Alabama. It's really not. And I think it's because they recruit at such a high level. But then again, you get into the recruiting stuff, and then do the recruiting rankings matter that much? College, like the college football offseason, it gives us an opportunity to step back and look at some of this stuff. And you really stop and think about, wow, this is a big deal, or is that a big deal? And I don't know. It's just great. That's why every day that I do this show, people laugh at me about this. As far as I've got friends that live up north that they don't really follow the college football much, but I have a college football story of some sort on this show every day, just because I feel like the audience needs that. And it's like, everybody needs their steak every day. And that's what college football is. So even if I find something that's kind of remotely off a little bit, I'm going to bring you college football stuff. Now we're going to talk about other things too, but it just seems like I've got to bring the college football story here to the folks on the rundown, because even the off season is outstanding. Yesterday, we were talking about the college football playoffs, and that may be something that's coming up this week where our entire playoff system may change here in the coming years. And whereas before being in the top 4 was everything, now you can be in the top 12, or you can just win your conference. You can, be an 8-3 champion in the Pac-12 and make the college football playoff. And people won't look at it, and people will look at it as like, it's a playoff berth, but they won't look at the teams from before where, it was really hard to get into that top 4. Prime example of that is Texas A&M last season. Texas A&M did everything they were supposed to do, except they didn't beat Alabama. They didn't win their division. You can argue if you put Texas A&M in the East, they win the East. You can make that argument. You can make the argument that they win the Pac. I think they win the Pac-12. I think they'd finish right there with Oklahoma in the Big 12, and they'd be right there with Clemson in the ACC. But it wasn't enough to get past Nick Saban and Alabama out there in the SEC West. But a team 5 years from now, Texas A&M would have easily gotten in if the expansion goes as we're seeing it right now. And I tell you this because there's always some interesting college football news that's just out there. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm sorry. Some comments from folks online. Spectral Tiger says, what is this slander? Jordan says, it's hard to win it all back-to-back seasons, but Saban is the only one that's done it in recent memory. If anyone does it, it'll be him. Look, I don't know. There's still the transfer portal is going to be huge. Guys are going to be going from here to there to everywhere else. Remember, there's an all ACC defensive back in the transfer portal right now. He's going to end up somewhere. Where's he going to go? I think that Georgia may have room for him. I think they've got, 2 or 3 scholarships left? I don't know. I'm just saying the transfer portal is going to be huge. So to say, just to wrap everything up, that's kind of the lazy man's way to look at it. We're just going to go with Alabama because we've always gone with Alabama. Step out of the box for a second and just look in. I'm not being disrespectful to Alabama. I think they've got a hell of a football program with the best coach in the country who is getting close to 70 years old and looks like he's not going to slow down in the least little bit. When I look at Alabama's roster, it's full of talent top to bottom. So don't come at me on Twitter at Rob Sounds Good and be like, Rob's bashing the national champion. It's not an issue of that. It's just an issue of step out of the box a little bit and look at some other teams that can possibly challenge Alabama. You know, I goof on the Georgia Bulldogs a good bit, but they have a good team. Could they finally get over the hump? I don't know. That's the big thing that Kirby Smart has to slay, by the way. Finally getting over that. And that's going to be a big deal. Clemson has the talent as well. Oklahoma looks really good with the stuff that they've got. So, as we roll along, we'll have plenty of things that we'll look at for the college football season. So, pretty jacked about that. I've got some interesting South Carolina stuff we'll get into. I found a website that put out South Carolina's 10 best freshmen over the past 5 seasons. That's pretty cool stuff there. And when you look at some of the freshmen that are on there, that's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. Anyway, this preseason top 10 from ESPN. I'm going to put this in my little section of notes here. Number 1, Oklahoma. Number 2, Alabama. Number 3, Georgia. Number 4, Clemson. Number 5, Ohio State. That's who they've got in their latest top. That's their top 5 there. You know, the way that Oklahoma played at the end of last season, it's kind of hard to overlook them. Folks talking about maybe Spencer Rattler can do kind of what Joe Burrow did. What I mean by that is that have a good season and then come back and have a monster season. And he's got plenty of talent there that he can do things. The sad thing is, though, is that there's such a small area. What I mean by that is that, you know, you can be kind of interchangeable. I mean, let's be honest with 1 through 5 here. Okay. I mean, in the end, those 5 teams, I venture to say at least 3 of them will make the college football playoff. I don't think it's that far-fetched. But after that, it's kind of a slope, to be completely honest with you. It slopes off. And I say that because to get over that slope, it could be 1 or 2 more players. Just, you know, hey, if we had 1 more defensive back, just 1 more guy to cover the other side of the field, then maybe that would be what we could do to get us over that hump. And that's why watching the transfer portal is going to be huge here in the next couple of weeks, because teams that were, you know, that 10-win team, like Florida, I'll just throw them out there as an example, or Texas A&M, or if you're in the ACC, you could think North Carolina. Anybody be shocked if those teams won 10 games this season? I mean, I haven't even looked at the Florida schedule, but let's just say, out on a limb here, they've got Alabama on the schedule, they've got LSU on the schedule, and they've got Georgia on the schedule. The rest of their schedule is kind of blah, to be completely honest with you. They got Florida State at the end of the year. When you really step back and look at it, though, Florida could win 10 games this year. That's not that far-fetched. But winning 10 games, what's that going to get you? You get to play Cincinnati in the Peach Bowl. Congratulations. Nobody wants to play for that. You're playing to get into that college football playoff top 4. And Florida could do that in theory if they pick up some playmakers in the transfer portal. And we'll find out everything we need to know about Florida, by the way. They play Alabama, the 3rd week of the season? Down in the swamp. I think that's going to be one of those statement games, by the way. What I mean by that is that I think Alabama may go in there and walk the dog on them and just beat them senseless to show, you know what, this is, it's like you look at this, oh, that's cute. That's cute. You thought you were going to be competitive. Oh, bless your heart. That kind of thing coming from Alabama. Or it could send shockwaves throughout the country if Florida's able to pick up the upset. We're going to find out. if how that's going to go. But in reality, let's be honest. I think the rest of the college football world is chasing these five: Oklahoma, Alabama, Georgia, Clemson, and Ohio State. Melon Matt Online says, Bama got Williams from Ohio State. If you can't beat them, join them. Hashtag roll tide. Look, it's kind of funny, Nick Saban going to the recruiting. I mean, that's almost like when he's going to the transfer portal, even after he's got all of these great classes, he's sitting there and he's like, you know what? That's not enough. Can you imagine the pressure there, too? He gets this wide receiver from there. I don't think Alabama's got anything below a 4-star receiver on their roster. Oh, we're going to bring in this guy from Ohio State. So all you 4-stars that thought you were going to come here and yell roll tide and everything else, yeah, good luck with that. Transfer portal is for you. Jimmy talking about Florida, as long as they don't throw anyone's shoe. Good point, sir. Good point. Anyway, the post-Power Spring rankings are there. I'm not going to be surprised if any of those top 4 or top 5 there. I'm going to say 3 of the 5 will make the playoff. I really believe that. But we may have a team that'll jump up through the transfer portal, and they may end up stopping somebody. We shall see. All right, if you want to respond to what we were talking about there, 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Also got trap games. We're going to get into that. Those are kind of cool. I've got to go over this Auburn thing. And basically what happened is generally after the NFL draft, they always put out these graphics about, okay, this guy played here, that guy played here, etc. But Harsin, of course, comes in from Boise State. And Auburn put out this graphic that the coaches have helped develop at previous stops. So all of these players that they had on this graphic, a lot of them were Georgia players that were developed by guys that are on the Auburn coaching staff right now. The biggest one was Matt Stafford. How in the hell do you put Matt Stafford on it and Todd Gurley on a graphic from Auburn saying, hey, our guys did this and you should come here? Oh no, strap in, Georgia fans, it's even better. AJ Green's on the list. Isaiah Wynn. All among the players promoted by Auburn. But of course, they all played at UGA. I don't know who's doing their social media down there, but a history of developing talent, hashtag War Eagle. That's what's out there. And it is by far the silliest thing that you will ever see. Let's promote a bunch of Georgia players down here at Auburn. If I'm a Georgia fan, I'm just writing this off as winning. You don't have anybody there that you want to talk about? How about the Auburn guys that got drafted? Put them out there. What a mess. 803-978-1832. More of the rundown. We come back right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Hey, I'm going to show you guys this graphic. It's hilarious. I've never seen anything like this before. It's like, oh, we by all these coaches have been developed by, or all these players have been, they're all Georgia players, but yeah, we're going to put them on our website. What a bunch of silliness. All right, let's see here. I've got Anyway, appreciate you guys joining the show today. This is quite possibly the silliest thing ever. You guys check this out over here. Look at this mess. Way to go, Brock. Look at this. Can you make a full screen for you guys? Oh, let me move this. Hold on. Sorry about that. Hold on. Bear with me. Look at that. all of these Florida Georgia players. Todd Gurley, Leighton Vander Esch, Matt Stafford, Brett Rippon, who was a Boise State quarterback, Richard Sherman. Oh, they got Richard Sherman on there. And all look at look by the way at Bobo. Bobo looks like he's just I'm really believing what you Georgia fans are telling me. Bobo is like a cross agent or something. I can't believe Auburn did that. What an absolute mess. Look at that mess, man. Golly, what an absolute joke. Anyway, I thought you guys would appreciate that just because I understand they're trying to do things down there, but that's not the way to do it. Not the way to do it at all. I mean, that's just pathetic in my opinion. I gotta take my medicine. I forgot to do it. My ADD meds so I don't lose train of thought. Well, welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. I just showed the folks online the tweet that Auburn put out there. Yeah, of everybody else's players. What an absolute mess. But you know what? They got 3 and 4 guys leaving Auburn's program here since the end of spring practice. Maybe they don't want to talk about the Gus Malzahn players that were there. You know, the ones that had a pretty good winning percentage and actually looked like they could compete with Nick Saban, where a lot of other teams haven't. Yeah, we don't want to promote any of those guys. To hell with those guys. We don't need them. The silliness of college football. Brock is wrapping up school and said he just finished his last final. Way to go. Congratulations on that. He also says he hopes that they smoke Auburn. USC Insider says that's Bobo F him. Yeah. Yeah. Did they even put Tracy Rocker, the guy who was supposed to show up? Is he on the list here? I don't see Tracy Rocker on the list here. That's kind of funny. They didn't put Tracy Rocker. Maybe they were worried that he wasn't going to show up and they didn't want to waste the graphic. What a mess. All right. If you want to talk to us about any of that, 803-978-1832. So this is my moment where I've got some trap games that are coming up for this season. Let me grab my notes. Hold on. I'm losing my train of thought here today. Here they are. So I was looking through some schedules and I found some of the biggest trap games of the 2021 season. I wanted to share some of them with you today. You know, the dreaded trap game, you're looking ahead to something that can happen. I get that. But these games are, in my opinion, some of the biggest trap games of the upcoming season. North Carolina at Georgia Tech on September the 25th. The Tar Heels' second road game of the season is in Atlanta. And North Carolina's had some issues playing there, to be honest with you. Will Jeff Collins' team be able to get off the mat? We shall see. Of course, North Carolina has a rivalry game with Duke the following week. I don't know if they're getting up for Duke, to be honest with you. But interesting to say the least. Arkansas at LSU. That game is on November the 13th. You know, could LSU, a week after playing Alabama in November, could they think, oh, wow, we're going to take a step back when we play Arkansas? They'll be saying, their coach down at Arkansas, he'll be yes, sir, and them forever. I'd be more worried about maybe LSU overexerts themselves a little bit, and they may come up a little short simply because they're kind of beat up a little bit playing Alabama. So that's kind of interesting. What an interesting trap game there. Wake Forest at Clemson. Now, I know that Clemson has pretty much dominated Wake Forest throughout the past, forever, since Jim Grove was there, okay? But they play that weird offense up there. Sam Hartman, I don't want you to think about this game and think about where He threw 5 interceptions in Wake Forest's game, bowl game last year. Only thrown like 2 all season, throws 5 in 1 game. You don't need to think about Sam Hartman there. But this game is on November the 20th, and it's the last game of the ACC season for Clemson. They could theoretically have the Atlantic Division wrapped up. What do the Tigers have to play for? In theory, they got to play South Carolina the following week. They didn't play South Carolina last year. That big rivalry game means a lot. Wake Forest comes in with that silly flex bone, weird offense. Maybe they can do something with it. I don't know. Very interesting trap game, though. Couple of others. Auburn at Mississippi State on October the 2nd. The more and more I'm looking at it, I think Auburn's going to be a gong show this year. We're going to have literally, I think Auburn's going to be an absolute gong show. When I'm doing my SEC preseason rankings and all of that, I honestly think I'm going to have Auburn near the bottom. Everyone that's leaving, they're depending on Bo Nix. If it weren't for Tank Bigsby, they would. I think I'd pick them last in the West. I really do. Anyway, that should be interesting with Auburn. But Alabama at Mississippi State. Playing in Starkville can be kind of tough, but I think Nick Saban will have them ready to go. Florida at South Carolina. This game's on November the 6th. But remember, on October the 30th, the Bulldogs and Gators will hook up there. Maybe Shane Beamer will have his guys right. We shall see. Some notes from some folks online. Brock says he doesn't think that Clemson will be great that great next year. Jerome says it'd be hilarious if Auburn went 3-9. Look, is it really that far-fetched? Let's just be honest. When you look at Auburn's schedule, they're one of the SEC West teams that has a legitimate gripe. Auburn's got to play Georgia. Auburn's got to play Alabama. They've got to play LSU. They've got to play Texas A&M. The thought of them going 3-9 is really not that crazy, to be completely honest with you. Anyway, maybe Shane Beamer will have his guys right on November the 6th. We shall see. And Kentucky and Georgia on October the 16th. I think Coach Stoops does a lot. He makes a lot of chicken salad. The expression that I'm talking about. Maybe Coach Stoops can whip it together to beat Georgia. I doubt it. Georgia's got to turn the ball over a lot. A whole lot for that to happen. Or there have to be some injuries there. But those are some trap games heading into next season that are interesting, to say the least. When it's kind of funny because, I was listening to some of the Mazodcast last night, which they cover nothing but Mizzou sports. And the guy that leads it, Brendan Anthony, is a very smart football guy. He's been covering the SEC since Mizzou got into the SEC. And he thinks that South Carolina is going to be a team that's kind of down this season because of all the transitions with the new coaching staff, etc. I, on the other hand, am starting to not buy that. I'm not saying that Coach Beamer is going to go in here and be like Coach Stoops. I'm not going to say that. But what I am going to say is that I think that South Carolina is going to be better coached this year than they were the past couple of seasons. And I think that the old adage that, the Coastal Carolina coach had, we need more dogs. I think you're going to have some of those at South Carolina. You may not have the most talented guys, but as far as lining up and saying, you know what, you're going to have to beat me. I'm not going to punk out. I'm not going to leave. No. I'm in this for the long haul with my coach. I think you're going to have that this season. And I think that may equate to another win for South Carolina, maybe 2, that they didn't have before. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call. Some of the comments from online. David's talking about no one else is a trap. Dogecoin. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I've been following the Dogecoin. If you don't know what Dogecoin is, you should Google it. It is an interesting thing where it's like a cryptocurrency that started out at like 4 cents. I was smart enough to get in on some of that. Today, it reached as high as 60 cents. So think about that 1 second. Craziness. The number to dial is 803-978-1832. You can also send me a message on Twitter at RobSoundsGood. You can also watch the show on the Fox Sports Radio 1400 Facebook page. Very simple there. But my Dogecoin account, I got in at 4 cents, and now it's we're looking at 56 cents. So yeah, that kind of is working out well for me on that front. Anyway, I'm laughing about that because tomorrow it might be a quarter. More of the rundown when we come back. We got to talk about Aaron Rodgers and what Terry Bradshaw said. It's going to be a mess. Right here on the rundown. Hey, my money's crazy. I haven't cashed out on it. What are you talking about, man? It's just sitting right here. Calm down. Return today is 33%. What a mess, man. Anybody else buy the Dogecoin? Look, you can make an argument that Clemson could tail off this year, but tailing off means they go 11-1 instead of 12-0. If it hits $1, if the Dogecoin hits $1, I still have some of my shares that were at 4 cents. It's going to be hard for me not to sell if it gets to $1. It'll be hard for me not to sell if it gets to $1. So, what a mess. So David and I are friends, and we'll message each other back and forth about Dogecoin. And I did really good on it when it went from like 4 to 34 cents. So I put a bunch of it like away. And then I've just been playing with my winnings, which is kind of funny. If Dogecoin hits $1, I might get some Rundown with Rob t-shirts printed. I have to look at the Buffalo Bills draft. I still think that we should give the Bills to Canada as a mark of goodwill, sir. That's what I think of the Buffalo Bills. We should give them the Bills in Detroit. We'll give them the Pistons too. Give them the Bills, the Pistons, the Tigers. Let them have them all. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. Some folks commenting online, of course, talking about the Dogecoin. I'll take your Dogecoin calls. Some folks have lost a small fortune. What I mean is that it's never going to go above a quarter. So they sold out at a quarter. Now it's currently at 56 cents. Now don't get angry if you look at it later on and it's at like 51 cents. And then you're like, how did that happen? It goes up and it goes down throughout the day. But anyway, I'll take your Dogecoin failure stories right here on the Rundown this afternoon. They were commenting about Clemson over there. Huffer Billy Paul says, Clemson will be fine this year. Love the doubters, though. He really does. Look, I think that what Brock said made sense. No one's really doubting them. I think they'll go 11-1 and 10-2 if things get bad. But 10-2 is bad relative to the standards. And he's right on this. If they lose their starting quarterback, Uiagalelei, it's not going to work out well for Clemson. I know some folks are like, oh, they'll be... No. You might be able to lean on the running game in some of those games. And you might think, okay, everything's going to be fine. But things are going to get tough when you get to the playoffs. I mean, that's just going to happen. 803-978-1832. 803-978-1832 is the number to call. I have to talk about Aaron Rodgers for a minute because it is a big major story. And I tell you what, it just gets messier by the day. Apparently, Aaron Rodgers is upset. They drafted Jordan Love and that's bothered him. Then there was talk that they had another wide receiver that was supposed to be in the mix there that he talked about, and the Packers cut him. But you know what? Terry Bradshaw normally says a lot of dumb things, but I actually agree with what Terry Bradshaw said and I'm going to give it to you in just a second here. What Terry Bradshaw said made a lot of sense. And this 7-second clip pretty much sums it up with Aaron Rodgers.
He's a 3-time MVP in the league, and he's worried about this guy they drafted last year at number 1. And for him to be upset, my God.
Exactly. You are a 3-time MVP. You're one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the entire league. There is not a team that's out there that wouldn't enjoy your services, with the exception of the ones that already have an established quarterback. But let's just be completely honest. How many quarterbacks truly rate above Aaron Rodgers right now? If you knew you had 2 guys, if you had to do 2 seasons, okay? For the next 2 seasons, if Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback in the NFL, you're okay with that. He's going to win you games. Simple as that. So you're one of the best in the absolute league, period. And the reality is that he's upset about this. Now, there's been stuff in the past where Rodgers doesn't talk to his family. He comes across as he's just arrogant, which I think if you're going to be a professional athlete, you have to be arrogant. But someone needs to tell Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he needs to go back to dating Danica Patrick. I know that he just got married or something like that, but Danica Patrick's doing all the yoga and all of that. He needs to find his inner being, and he needs someone to tell him, you're a good player. Who cares about the guy behind you? You can ride off into the sunset and help develop this guy. And the reality is that you'll look a lot better in the end. But they're not going to pull you and put him in there because you are better than he is. Period. It's just the way that it is. I don't understand why there's such just this thing in his head that he has like this huge complex that he's going to end up getting unseated. First of all, Father Time is going to unseat you, not the quarterback that's behind you. Okay? That's the big deal there. And Terry Bradshaw was right. You've won the MVP 3 times. You're going to be in the Hall of Fame. Slow down for a second. Realize who you are. You are the face of that franchise. You're the best player on that team. Period. Stop worrying about the guy from Utah State that's behind you that's a prospect. He's a prospect. You shouldn't have, if your ego is that soft, man, that's not, you're the best player on that team and you lead that team because of your talent. But if you want that team to be really your team, you lead them by being the absolute man. And what that means is that you're that good where this guy that they drafted is going to follow you. And when he follows you, the rest of the team, they're going to be right there with him. And it's frustrating as a Packers fan because you know this. You know how great Aaron Rodgers is. And he's going to go somewhere else. And that's sad. He should play in one jersey. And it was the same way with Brett Favre. Brett Favre should have played just for the Packers. Watching him play for the Jets is sickening. Watching him play for the Vikings was sickening. I didn't really like watching Tom Brady play for the Buccaneers. But he went down there and won a Super Bowl title. Was his numbers that great? No. But the reality is he could still play. But still, and maybe I'm just sentimental in this, my favorite baseball player of all time is Chipper Jones. He played for one team. And maybe I just have that complex in my head. But Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if does he have something where people told him you're never good enough? Maybe that's what he uses to drive himself. I don't know. He's the best quarterback up there. one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. You could argue Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I'll buy that because of his youth. I'll definitely buy that. You could talk about Josh Allen with the Bills. I mean, he's the younger quarterback, really hasn't stamped his way there yet. Mahomes has won a Super Bowl. But right now, it's Aaron Rodgers and the world, and that's kind of silly. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. One team is supposedly in the mix here to get him, and that would be the Denver Broncos, according to Get Up from ESPN. The Denver Broncos continue to be the team I hear that are going to be most interested in Aaron Rodgers and are going to put the most in front of the Green Bay Packers to try to make this trade go down. And by the way, you are absolutely ruining your legacy up there. If you wanted to leave, you should have told them at the end of the season. That way they could trade for you, make the trade, and get actual draft picks. Maybe 5 years from now, they can talk about how great you were when you come back. And they retire your number up there. But it's a selfish move by Aaron Rodgers. Absolutely selfish. I mean, do you have to have somebody tell you you're the prettiest girl in the world the whole time, man? Is that what it boils down to? 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832. Here's the number to call. Welcome to the Rundown. Good afternoon.
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
I'd like to speak to the fellow that's on the sports.
Yeah, that would be me.
Guy.
What do you got, buddy?
Oh, yeah, well, I think you're off a little bit on Aaron Rodgers as to why he wants to do it. And I think, look at it from this perspective. He wants to win the Super Bowl, and he doesn't see the horsepower there to do it in Green Bay. And I think it's as simple as that. He wants to win the Super Bowl. He doesn't want to be with one team. He's like a lot of these other guys now, whether it's the basketball player or whatever. They want to win the big one. After they become, established and they become one of the best players, they know, and I know he's won one, but he wants to win more, and he doesn't see it happening in Green Bay. It's not the guy behind him or anything else. And I think it's just that simple.
Well, I appreciate you calling, man, and that may be something different. Hey, thanks for calling the show, buddy. You're always welcome.
Well, just let me ask you, let me make one other quick comment,
sure,
if I might.
Yes, sir.
Your comment on Tom Brady was uncalled for.
Why is it uncalled for? Because I wanted him to stay with the Patriots?
No, not that. You said Tom Brady didn't play that well.
I don't think
Tom
his numbers
Brady
were very Tom Brady.
The numbers don't matter.
Oh.
Tom Brady wins.
Okay.
It's as simple as that. He wins. If you win, you're a great quarterback. It's not numbers. It's do you win?
Well, we can agree to disagree upon that, sir, but I do appreciate your opinion.
Well, that's what you're good at. And to get people like me to call and have a discussion, an open discussion, so other people can say, well, that guy was a nut, and agree with you, or agree with me. All right, buddy.
Appreciate it,
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Bye-bye.
I disagree with the caller. Tampa Bay won last year because I think their defense was great. Ndamukong Suh, those guys, yeah, they were pretty good. Tom Brady did what Tom Brady did. But it wasn't like Tom Brady from, when he was with the Patriots. Come on now. But, hey, I appreciate your call. We don't always have to agree. I'm okay with that. I'm not buying. And, by the way, Aaron Rodgers got put out in the NFC. What was it? The NFC championship game against the Patriots. They're right on the cusp of being great. So, I think winning the Super Bowl and up there at Green Bay, I think they were a defensive back short, to be completely honest. But we'll never know now. It'll be Jordan Love's team here shortly. More of the rundown when we come back. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. You know, I'm not look, I don't understand why people can't see that Deshaun Watson's great. I don't get that, but whatever. If you don't think Deshaun Watson's great, I'll take him today over 15 Dak Prescotts. Take that in your pipe and smoke it, Blake. How's that running down there for you? I wouldn't have Dak Prescott on my practice squad. And I mean that. Would not have him on my practice squad. Period. If I had to pick quarterbacks in the NFL, I would go Mahomes, Rodgers, Watson. Prescott can go and bring them Gatorade. That's how I feel about the contract that Cowboys gave him was ridiculous. Silliness on top of that. You are right about Lamar can't throw the ball. Yeah, that's silly on its own right, too. Where's my... Got my other notes here. What did I do with my other... When Watson gets convicted, let me know. I'll wait. And Tom Brady is clutch. Don't come at me thinking, all right, I'm bashing Tom Brady. Tom Brady's a great quarterback. But I mean, he is 50 years old. Nick, you're hilarious, Nick. You guys are killing me today. Absolutely killing me over there. All right, here we go. Welcome back to the Rundown here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Around the world on the iHeartRadio app, I'm Rob Sanders. I made a comment in during the break to the chat room over there on foxsportsradio1400.com. You can find it on Facebook. You can watch the show there. And we talked during the break, and we were talking about if I had to. They were talking about. I was like, I don't think I would take Dak Prescott ever. And what I mean by that is that he wouldn't be on my scout team right now. We're talking about our quarterbacks there. I would go Mahomes, Rodgers, and then Deshaun Watson. I know Deshaun Watson's got some issues, but those three over the rest. And Brock has a great quote. To quote the great Bill Burr, you can have the guy that passes for 300 plus yards in the regular season. I want the guy who can win me games in the postseason, referring to Tom Brady. Yes, I'll buy that. And I don't want people thinking I'm ripping Tom Brady because I'm not. I just think that when I watched them last season, his second half was better than his first, and I think the defense won them the Super Bowl. I really do. Anyway, we'll take calls on that at 803-978-1832. By the way, key date here for the Aaron Rodgers saga, which, by the way, that it's starting to get to a point where it's almost like the Deshaun Watson saga. We don't know how things are going to end. We just know that it's going to be a saga for a long time. The Packers have said, hey, they're not going to field offers for Aaron Rodgers, which is what you have to say, by the way. But if I were Green Bay, I would definitely be, if he says he doesn't want to be here, bye-bye. We'll figure something out. But June 1st is the big deal, the date for that. Of course, this is coming from Rob Demavesky from ESPN. He says they might trade him after June 1st because that's when the salary cap hit will be less for them. If they move on right now, if they trade him, there's no point in trading him right now because they could have done that before the draft. They would only save $5 million. If they do it after June 1st, they pick up $25 million on their salary cap right away. So look for the Aaron Rodgers saga to end on right after June 1st, where they can get rid of $25 million worth of cap space. So look for that we'll have to hear on ESPN for a month about the great Aaron Rodgers and where's he going to go. Some comments. Blake says, Dak is a great story about never giving up. Kids, the parents died. 2 college teams wanted him. Day 3 guy in the draft. 7 other quarterbacks drafted before him. He never gives up. I'm not saying Dak's not a great story, but he's not Pat Mahomes. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He's not Deshaun Watson. Just saying. And he says, use that chip on your shoulder to make yourself better every day. Maybe that's what's happened to Aaron Rodgers. He has to be the absolute best in the world all the time, and he has to be told he's the best in the world all the time, or he wants to be traded somewhere else. And by the way, if you're a coach on another team, if your team is like right there on the cusp of just being absolutely great and winning the Super Bowl, like if everybody remembers, Tampa Bay the season before was pretty terrible with Jameis Winston back there. But if your team is like right there and they could use a great quarterback to take them over the top, that's kind of what you get with Aaron Rodgers here. But what if your team is right there, but you worry that with Aaron Rodgers having to be told he's the prettiest guy in the room all the time, you're the absolute best quarterback in the history of quarterbacks. We have to tell you that all the time. I have to have my assistants text you that every other hour, just so you're reminded of that. Do you want that in your locker room too? I'm not buying that at all. Brock says, Kelly Bryant had a great story, but that doesn't mean that he's that great. You know who else had a great story that Gamecock fans are giving grief to on Twitter? Shout out to Mike Uva from Watch Fox, basically lighting up Gamecock Twitter with stop bashing Colin Hill. Colin Hill went from the upstate out to Colorado State, went through 3 knee surgeries, left there, came to South Carolina, basically finished out the season here and got picked up as a free agent. That's a great story. You would think, and then, of course, Gamecock fans are hammering him on Twitter. Mike Uva had to put the boots to him. Looked like an old set of the NWO back in the day, with Mike Uva doing his best impression of Scott Hall, just out there just kicking people in the face on Twitter. Be sure to follow Mike Uva. He's great. And Tom says he drove Helinski out of town. Gamecock fans are really upset about that, and they probably should be, because the caller was talking about numbers don't matter. I think they do. And I think the numbers that Ryan Helinski is going to put up at Northwestern this year make Gamecock fans think for a moment. Wouldn't you like to have Helinski there, who you know has that great big arm? And he does. He put up numbers when he was able to get out there and throw. I don't know if South Carolina has the receiving talent, but wouldn't you feel a little bit better going into this season if you had Helinski at quarterback over Luke Doty? Just saying. I mean, no disrespect to Luke Doty, but there's still people out there that think that he can't throw the ball down the field. Didn't really, 3 passes that were considered long passes last season in the games that he played. I'd feel better if I had Aaron Rodgers back there. I really would. And Jimmy with the big line here. Bobo cost us Ryan Helinski. Yes, that's probably true. All right, Lawton Swan of Clemson Sports Talk is next. He's the czar of Clemson Sports.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
Yes, everybody loves the Swan. Follow me on Twitter. I'm at Rob Sounds Good. Podcast for the show will be up. We've had like a record number for the podcast downloads. Apparently, maybe I'm doing something correct here on the air. I don't know. Or maybe people are too lazy to listen on the air and they just want to listen to the podcast. It could be that too. Either way, it's right there for you. Podcast will be up wherever you get your favorite podcast. Just look for the Rundown with Rob Sanders. We'll have another show for you tomorrow right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. Well, I don't blame the kid on that, but that was a weird situation with the Gunnar Stockton thing too. I think that makes Will Muschamp a snake, by the way, an absolute snake. The way that was handled, just disgusting. Does anybody like Will Muschamp still? I mean, I try to find something good to, kind of warm my heart a little bit about Will Muschamp, and I'm not feeling it at all. Just not feeling it. All right. Appreciate you guys. I'll be watching more of Northwestern football. Yeah, that's going to be good. New Rob and Kale show tomorrow night. Run down here tomorrow at 3:00. You guys are awesome. We'll talk to you tomorrow.